I'm back. So yesterday I was having a hard time reading. Hopefully it's gonna be different today. So a quick recap of what I read yesterday. We have these two. It's a detective and a investigator. That's basically the same thing, like police. Um, that's and the police named Wes and Wes and Liam, West and Lem, who are best friends, um, who've known each other since the army days, and they're both now working for the law enforcement. So I left off where they were both going over the murder of Wes Dahlberg, who was killed by the unknown creature, dog creature, I guess, that was being experimented on in the Banodon lab, I believe. Yeah, but that's where I left off. Cliff Holmes asked uneasily. This way, Wall said, leading them into the second room. It was a large, if primitive, kitchen with the hand pump and the sink and an old-fashioned wood burning stove. Except for the head, there was no signs of violence in the kitchen. Of course, the head was bad enough. It was in the center of the table, on a plate. Jesus, Cliff said softly. When they had entered the room, a police photographer had been taking shots of the head from various angles. He was not finished, but he stepped back to give them a better view. The dead man's eyes were missing, torn out. The empty sockets seemed as deep as wells. Cliff Soames had turned to white. Cliff Soames had turned so white that, by contrast, his freckles burned on his skin as if they were flecks of fire. Lamb felt sick, not merely because of what happened to Wes Dahlberg, but because of all the deaths yet to come. He was proud of both his management and investigatory investigatory skills. And he knew he could handle this case better than anyone else. But he was also a hard-headed pragmatist, incapable of underestimating the enemy or of pretending of pretending there would be a quick ending to this nightmare. He would need time and patience and luck to track down the killer. And meanwhile, more bodies would pile up. The head had not been cut off the dead man. It was not as neat as that. It appeared to have been clawed and chewed and wrenched off. Lem's palms were suddenly damp. Strange. How the em- Strange how the empty sockets of the head transfixed him as surely as if they had contained wide, staring eyes. In the hollow of his back, a single droplet of sweat traced the course of his spine. He was more scared than he had ever been, or had ever thought he could be. But he did not want to be taken off the job for any reason. It was vitally important to the very security of the nation and the safety of the public that this emergency be handled right. And he knew no one was likely to perform as well as he could. That was not just ego talking. Everyone said he was the best. And he knew they were right. He had a just justifiable pride and no false modesty. This was his case, and he would stay with it to the end. His folks had raised him with an almost too keen sense of duty and responsibility. A black man, his father used to say, has to do a job twice as well as a white man in order to get any credit at all. That's nothing to be bitter about. Nothing worth protesting. It's just a fact of life. Might as well might as well protest the weather turning cold in winter instead of protesting. The thing to do is just face facts. Work twice as hard and you get where you want to go. And you must succeed because you carry the flag for all your brothers. As a result of that upbringing, Lem was incapable of less than total Lamb was incapable of less than total, unhesitating commitment to every assignment. He dreaded failure, rarely encountered it, but could be thrown into a deep funk for weeks when the successful conclusion of a case eluded him. Talk to you outside a minute? Wall asked, moving to the open rear door of the cabin. Lamb nodded. To Cliff, he said, stay here. Make sure nobody, pathologists, photographers, uniformed cops, nobody leaves before I've had a chance to talk to them. Yes, sir, Cliff said. He headed quickly toward the front of the cabin to inform everyone that they were temporarily quarantined and to get away from the eyeless head. Lamb followed Walt Gaines into the clearing behind the cabin. He noticed a metal hod and firewood scattered over the ground and paused to study those objects. We think it started out here, Walt said. Maybe Dahlberg was getting wood for the fireplace. Maybe something came out of those trees. So he threw the hod at it and ran into the house. They stood in the bloody orange late afternoon sunlight at the perimeter of the trees, peering into the purple shadows and mysterious green depths of the forest. Lamb was so uneasy. He wondered if the escapee was he wondered if the escapee from Weatherby's lab was nearby was nearby watching them. So what's up? Wall asked. Can't say. National security? That's right. The spruces and pines and sycamores rustled in the breeze, and he thought he heard something moving furtively through the brush. Imagination, of course. Nevertheless, Lamb was glad that both he and Walt Gaines were armed with reliable pistols and accessible shoulder holsters. Walt said, you can keep your lip zipped if you insist, but you can't keep me totally in the dark. I can figure out a few things for myself. I'm not stupid. Never thought you were. Tuesday morning, every damn police department in Orange and San Bernardino counties gets an urgent request from your NSA asking us to be prepared to cooperate in a manhunt. Details to follow, which puts us which puts us all on edge. We know what you guys are responsible for: guarding defense research, keeping the vodka pissing Russians from stealing our secrets. And since Southern California is the home of half the defense contractors in the country, there's plenty to be stolen here. Lamb kept his eyes on the woods, kept his mouth shut. So, Walt continued, we figure we're going to be looking for a Russian agent with something hot in his pockets, and we're happy to have a chance to help kick some ass for Uncle Sam. But by noon, instead of getting details, we get a cancellation of the request. No manhunt after all. Everything's under control, your office tells us. Original alert was issued in error, you say. That's right. The agency had realized that local police could not be sufficiently controlled therefore and therefore could not be fully trusted. It was a job for the military, issued in error. Like hell. By late afternoon of the same day, we learned Marine choppers from El Toro was are quartering the Santa Ana foothills, and by Wednesday morning, 100 Marines with high-tech tracking gear were flown in from Camp Pendleton to carry on the search at ground level. I heard about that, but it had nothing to do with my agency, Lem said. Walt studiously avoided looking at Lem. He stared off into the trees. Clearly, he knew Lem was lying to him, knew that Lem had to lie to him, and he felt it would be a breach of good manners to make Lem do it while they maintained eye contact, though he looked crude and ill-mannered. Walt Gaines was an unusually considerate man with rare talent for friendship, but he was also the county sheriff, and it was his duty to keep probing even though he knew Lem would reveal nothing. He said, Marines tells us it's just a training exercise. That's what I heard. We're always notified of training exercises 10 days ahead. Lem did not reply. He thought he saw something in a forest, a flicker of shadows, a darkish presence moving through piney gloom. So the Marines spent all day Wednesday and half of Thursday out there in the hills. But when reporters hear about this exercise and come snooping around, the leathernecks suddenly call it off. Pack up, go home. It was almost as if whatever they were looking for was so worrisome, so damn top secret that they'd rather not find it at all, if finding it meant letting the press know about it. Squinting into the forest, Lem stained to see through steadily deepening shadows, tried to catch another glimpse of the movement that had drawn his attention a moment ago. Wall said, then yesterday afternoon, the NSA asked to be kept informed about any peculiar reports, unusual assaults, or exceedingly violent murders. We asked for clarification, don't get any. There, a ripple in the murkiness beneath the evergreen boughs. About 80 feet in from the perimeter of the woods, something moving quickly and steadily from one sheltering shadow to another. Lem put his right hand under his coat on the butt of the pistol in his shoulder holster. But then, just one day later, Walt said, we find this poor son of a bitch Dahlberg torn to pieces, in a case as peculiar as hell and about as exceedingly violent as I ever hoped to see. Now here you are, Mr. Lemuel Asa Johnson, director of the Southern California office of the NSA, and I know you didn't come choppering in here just to ask me whether I want onion or guacamole dip at tomorrow's night bridge game. The movement was closer than 80 feet, much closer. Lem had been confused by the layers of shadows and by the queerly distorting late afternoon sunlight that penetrated the trees. The thing was no more than 40 feet away, maybe closer, and suddenly it came straight at them, bounded at them through the brush, and Lem cried out, drew the pistol from his holster, and involuntarily stumbled backward a few steps before taking a shooter stance with his legs spread wide, both hands to the gun. It's just a mule deer, Walt Gaines said. Indeed it was. Just a mule deer. The deer stopped wow, wow, a dozen feet away, under the drooping boughs of a spruce, peering at them with huge brown eyes that were bright with curiosity. Its head was held high, ears pricked up. They're so used to people in these canyons that they're almost tame, Walt said. Lem let out a stale breath as he holstered his pistol. The mule deer, sensing their tension, turned from them and loped away along the trail, vanishing into the woods. Walt was staring hard at Lem. What's out there, buddy? Lem said nothing. He blotted his hands on his suit jacket. The breeze was stiffening, getting cooler. Evening was on its way, and night was close behind it. Never saw you spook before, Walt said. A caffeine jack, I've had too much coffee today. Bullshit, Lem shrugged. It seemed to have been an animal that killed Dauber. Something with lots of teeth, claws, something savage, Walt said. Yet no damn animal would carefully place the guy's head on a plate in the center of the kitchen table. That's a sick joke. Animals don't make jokes, not sick or otherwise. Whatever killed Dauber, it left the head like that to taunt us. So what in Christ's name are we dealing with? You don't want to know, and you don't need to know, because I'm assuming jurisdiction in this case. Like hell, I've got the authority, Lem said. It's now a federal matter, Walt. It's now a federal matter, Walt. I'm impounding all the evidence your people have gathered, all reports they've written thus far. You and your men are to talk to no one about what you've seen here. No one. You have a file on the case, but the only thing in it will be a memo from me asserting the federal prerogative under the correct statute. You're out from under. No matter what happens, no one can blame you, Walt. Shit, let it go, Walt scowled. I've got to know. Let it go. Are people in my county in danger? At least tell me that much, damn it. Yes. In danger? Yes. And if I fought you, if I try to hang on to jurisdiction in this case, would there be anything I could do to lessen that danger to ensure the public safety? No, nothing, Lamb said truthfully. Then there's no point in fighting you. None, Lamb said. He started back toward the cabin because the daylight was fading fast, and he did not want to be near the woods as darkness crept in. Sure, it had not only been a mule deer, but next time? Wait a minute, Walt said. Let me tell you what I think, and you just listen. You don't have to confirm or deny what I say. All you gotta do is hear me out. Go on, Lem said impatiently. The shadows of the trees crept steadily across the bristly, dry grass of the clearing. The sun was balanced on the western horizon. Walt paced out of the shadows into the waning sunlight, hands in his back pockets, looking down at the dusty ground, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. Then, Tuesday afternoon, somebody walked into a house in Newport Beach, shot a man named Yarbeck, that's Vince, and beat his wife to death. That night, somebody killed the Huston family in Laguna Beach. Husband, wife, and a teenage son. Police in both communities used the same forensics lab, so it didn't take long to discover one gun was used both places. But that's all the police in either case are going to learn because your NSA has quietly assumed jurisdiction in those crimes too. In the interest of the national security. Lamb did not respond. He was sorry he had even agreed to listen. Anyway, he was not taking direct charge of the investigation into the murders of the scientists, which were almost surely Soviet inspired. He delegated that task to other men so he'd be free to concentrate on finding the dog and the outsider. The sunlight was burnt orange. The cabin windows smoldered with reflections of that fading fire. Walt said, Walt said, okay. Then there's Dr. Davis Weatherby of Corona Del Mar, missing since Tuesday. This morning, Weatherby's brother finds the doctor's body in the trunk of his car. Local pathologists hardly arrive at the scene before NSA agents show up. Lem was slightly unnerved by the swiftness with which the sheriff evidently gathered, coordinated, and absorbed information from various communities that were not in the unincorporated part of the county and were not therefore under his authority. Walt grinned, but with little or no humor. Didn't expect me to have made all these connections, huh? Each of these each of these things happened in a different place in a different police jurisdiction. But as far as I'm concerned, this country is one sprawling city, 2 million people. This country is one sprawling city of 2 million people. So I make it my business hand to work hand in glove with all the local departments. What's your point? My point is that it's astonishing to have six murders of upstanding citizens in one day. Wow, so Vince killed all of them in one day. That's crazy. This is Orange County after all, not LA. And it's even more astonishing that all six deaths are related to urgent matters of national security. So it arouses my curiosity. I start checking into the backgrounds of these people, looking for something that links them. What, for Christ's sake? And I discovered they all work or did work for something called Banodyne Laboratories. Wow, smart. Lem was not angry. He couldn't get angry with Walt. They were tighter than brothers, but the big man's canines was maddening right now. Lem said, "Listen, you've got no right to conduct an investigation. I'm sheriff, remember? But none of these murders except Dauberg here falls into your jurisdiction to begin with," Lem said. "And even if it did, once the NSA steps in, you've got no right to continue. In fact, you're